And hello, everyone, and welcome everywhere in the world to another episode with Raise Awareness of Coaching and Education. In this series, we are collaborating with Juan Carlos to bring to you more about this language learning, I'd call it approach, just to be careful with the vocabulary, Neurolanguage Coaching. And today with me here, Katie, a really warm welcome to Race, Katie.
Same to you, Jacob. Dzień dobry. Hola. Witaj. Hello.
Thank you. Right, Katie, we've got around 30 minutes. So we're going to dive right into it, and with you telling us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for signposting so beautifully here and for introducing these time frames, which are so important in coaching, in any coaching approach.
Yeah.
Introduce myself. Okay.
Nice.
Shall I start with something like I've been teaching English for
Well, I would say start with whatever you feel comfortable with, and you don't have to be to follow the norm. So just surprises.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Katie. My name is Katarzyna, and I've been teaching English for over 20 years. And 10 years ago, I came across the Neurolanguage Coaching approach, and I took all the paths on our career development path when it comes to becoming a professional Neurolanguage coach.
Yeah.
And that led me to becoming a teacher trainer for the approach.
Okay, that's quite brief introduction. Thank you. Katie, neurolanguage coaching. So a lot of people, hear about it and probably become quite curious. So I'd like you to tell us, what is neurolanguage coaching?
Yeah, it's always a very, very challenging question to answer, and I've faced it so many times. And anytime, I face it, I think to myself how much neurolanguage coaching is about experiencing and how difficult it is just to give a clear definition of this.
Yeah.
But when I think about it, I think about different things dancing together within an approach.
Okay.
As if intermingling. And what I would mention is for sure this element of traditional coaching, which is about the elements that we bring to the concept from the traditional coaching tool, which is about digging into motivation. It's about the goal setting process. It's about, the time frames for the process. It's about feedback. It's about goal review sessions. So we could say that it's about a structure that somehow is incorporated from the coaching and the coaching approach. Yes.
Yeah.
Plus, what we add to this is the neuroscience. Neuroscience, which is, let me put it in the simplest way that comes to me at this point, which is about how the brain works, how the brain reacts, and how the brain responds, and how can we as educators, taking this into account, create personalized learning together with our clients, together with our coachees.
Yeah. If I can go back, so for you personally, I have two questions regarding neurolanguage coaching. So number one, how did your journey start with neurolanguage coaching?
Oh, this is so fascinating, for me to get back to this point.
Yeah.
Because, I started teaching English mainly to corporate clients in in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And what I very quickly started to hear as feedback from my clients
Yeah.
was like, what is it that you are doing with us, Katie?
Okay.
Who would come to me with a lot of anxiety, with a lot of fear, and all of a sudden they would find themselves caught in a conversation, speaking and using the language.
Okay.
And what they did, they called it miracles.
Okay.
So somehow, listening to their feedback, I started to feel more and more intrigued to discover what it is that I'm doing that
Yeah.
has such impact on them. So somehow intuitively connecting different bits and pieces, I
Yeah.
was realizing more and more how much of coaching I was using intuitively at this point of my life, of my business life.
Yeah.
So I took a decision, okay, I'm gonna dig deeper into this and I'm gonna become a professional coach
Okay.
in order somehow to gain qualifications and in order to, well, discover answers to the questions that started to, well, dig these holes, in my belly because they caught my attention so much and they somehow magnetized me, I would say.
Yeah.
So I started to look for certain courses available on the Polish market where I'm based, where I've always lived.
Mhm.
And I was about to take a decision whether this or that. And it was about postgraduate studies in coaching.
This or that? Can we know what
This or
this
that,
or?
like this university or
Ah,
that
okay.
university. Yes.
Right.
So it was like either or for me then, but I was
Yeah.
very, very close, having started from this generic choice, funneling this.
Hmm.
So at a certain point, I had two options that I was seriously considering.
Right.
And all of a sudden, totally out of the blue, what appeared to me was language coaching certification. Huh?
And you didn't know that it existed.
I had no bloody idea at that time that anything like that existed. I had no idea that this concept was crystallized by Rachel Paling at that point in time.
Right.
And well, I just followed my intuition. So I enrolled within I don't know, 2 hours, maybe. And this
Yeah.
is how it all started. So from the very, very beginning, to me, it was about following my intuition, just listening to some kind of inner voice, leading me.
You
Mm.
know, I'm okay. So I think you've answered my second question as well, because I was going to ask you what was the reason you decided neurolanguage to start the journey with neurolanguage coaching, and I think you've
Mhm.
mentioned that you followed your intuition.
Yes. However, I'm not sure whether I would say it was the reason.
Okay.
The reason was to, discover this impact that I was having on my clients.
Right.
Because at that point in time, I was aware of doing something special.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to know the reasons. I wanted to discover the reasons.
Curiosity. I always keep curious.
Oh.
Um. So in another related question, then, so since you have started this journey, as you said, you followed all the paths of professional development with new language coaching until you
Mm.
become a licensed trainer. So if we go back right at the beginning, like the first certifications you did,
Mm.
um, what did you notice changed in your, you know, let's say, language teaching approach?
Mm. Honestly, it's quite challenging to me to narrow this down
Okay, that's a good
to
question, then.
just teaching approach, because
Okay.
if I may,
Yes,
I
please.
would say that coaching and learning coaching and becoming a coach
Yeah.
is so much about change on the level of attitude.
Okay.
So I would say that the moment we gain knowledge,
Mm,
the more dots we are able to connect, the
true.
more understanding we
Yeah.
bring, the more understanding we invite.
Yeah.
And we get to the point from which we start to understand how we are somehow creating things in our life,
Yeah.
but also how we impact our clients and how we impact our learners.
Right.
So I would say that it was about communication. And when I think about the first area that we take care of when we start to learn neurolanguage coaching and when we start becoming neurolanguage coaches, it's
Yeah.
like how we change these patterns of communication into the so-called brain-friendly patterns.
Okay. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm always, well, I'm laughing here because I'd like to hear, I don't know, maybe if you tell us a glimpse. I don't want you to reveal the secrets of the approach, but you mentioned, changing patterns, changing approach. Can we get an example?
Right. So your primary question was about what changed in my
Yes.
teaching. Yes,
Yeah.
thanks
Yeah.
to this.
Yeah.
And I think that the most powerful to be mentioned here, the most powerful thing, the most powerful aspect would be the structure.
Okay.
Because there are so many language coaches around in the
Right.
market.
Yeah.
And because coaching is an unregulated profession, these days anybody can be
True.
a coach.
True.
Yes. So it would lead us in the direction of discussing probably the whole idea of qualifications and
Yeah.
accreditation. But I think that the most meaningful thing at that point in time that I realized was the importance of the structure.
Okay.
And neurolanguage coaching provides us teachers, trainers, language educators with a very specific structure
Yeah.
based on which and within which we
Yeah.
create and co-create the whole process with the learner, with the client.
Right.
So before I did the course, my sessions were definitely very, very brain friendly,
Mm-hmm.
but they would continue forever very often. My clients wouldn't like to leave, you know?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So the structure, like the whole process, particular stages of the process, time frames, there's goal review sessions,
Yeah.
yes, and the goals which are so important for us are people working within this approach,
Yeah.
because the more specifically we set the goals, the more measurable they are.
Yeah.
And it's so much about progress, yes, and what making progress means for each and every individual.
Right. I think I agree with what you said about clients sometimes wanting to stay in a way forever. However,
Mm,
it's part of being a successful coach is that your client would leave you feeling empowered and motivated, and to lead their own to lead their own life and pursue their own goals. Um,
sure.
right. So, if we can look again at your experience with neuro
Mhm.
language coaching, um, what could you tell us, I don't know, an inspiring story that might have happened with your learners somewhere where where neuro language coaching had the most impact on them?
Hmm.
Challenging question.
Yeah, it is,
Very
because
good.
these are the things which are happening in real time
Yeah.
and every session in which I
Okay.
assist my clients, my learners, bring some very important discoveries, I would
Yeah.
say for both sides,
Okay.
even.
Oh, that's even better. That's you
But
and the learner.
that's me and the learner,
Okay.
yes. So I would say that it's a constant journey of self-discoveries for both of us. And it's about this like mutual impact somehow that we have.
Yeah.
This is maybe what lifelong learning is about to a very big extent also.
Right. So you mentioned your learners mention usually, I don't know, like KT with the brain-friendly approach. What else would they say as, like they're really happy that you are a neurolanguage coach and trainer
Mm.
and that they are working with you?
Mm. I would say, Jacob, that it's so much about their self-discoveries and this most powerful insights would come
Yeah.
from this area.
Right.
And this is again something that brings us back to the topic of awareness and self-awareness.
Mm.
It's very often, when we start the process, they think like they need English for a particular reason, that there is some motivation, which is usually very generic in case of the majority of them.
Yeah.
So even at the very, very beginning of this, like first initial session, in which we lay down, the foundation for the whole neurolanguage coaching process,
Yeah.
when we dig deeper into motivation, they very often discover that what seemed to be their motivation when they entered this conversation with me is
Yeah.
something really, really superficial and, something from the surface.
Yeah.
And later it turns out that it's so much about what they want to experience thanks to this better knowledge of English. Yes, what qualities do they want to invite to their life? What
Yeah.
emotions they want to invite? And it brings us somehow to, well, much bigger, I would say, depth of human experience.
Yeah.
So one of very fascinating discoveries that quite a number of my clients
Right.
have made recently is like that they need English, they need language, they need communication, not really to communicate and to understand and to, exchange things,
Yeah.
but in order to connect with others on a much deeper level.
Okay. That's quite philosophical.
Human connection is what I have in mind
Yeah.
here.
Okay. Right. Well, language. I think language is, is all about communication. Like,
Mm.
you know, if you can convey your message and understand what messages are being, sent to you, so that's it. You build that connection and communication.
Sure, this is
That's
exactly what I have in mind. Mm.
that's what languages are all about. Um, I know that with neurolanguage coaching, I believe you are a NeuroHeart educator as well.
This is what people say, yes. Yeah, yeah,
So
that's true.
can we hear a little bit about it then?
Mm. NeuroHeart education.
Yeah,
Mm. Well, NeuroHeart education, which is again some kind of an approach
yeah,
that enables us to embrace, I would say, a whole human.
okay.
And this prefix neuro is very sexy these days.
It's
It's very trendy, isn't
right.
it?
Oh, yeah, it is true.
There is, yeah, so much of appeal in this.
Yeah,
But whenever I talk to people, so many of them link the neuro directly to the brain,
mm,
which is located somewhere here.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if we just broaden this perspective a bit and we think about the fact that we have neurons all over the body, and
Okay.
that a lot of neurons are located in the area of our heart, and there are plenty of neurons located in our gut,
Okay.
then how can we embrace the three? So, something that comes from this mental area, like the brain here, yes, what I
Right.
said at the very, very beginning, how it
Yeah.
works, how it reacts, how it learns, how to facilitate this, how to make use of the full brain's potential. But how
Yeah.
can we also embrace the emotions, the emotional intelligence?
Okay.
Yes. How can we bring metacognition into this process, which is also so much about like awareness? Yes. It's about ourselves observing ourselves throughout our experiences, throughout our actions.
So you mentioned the brain, and then something about the heart and the gut. Do we understand that this is all these together make NeuroHeart education?
Somehow, yes, to put it in the simple way at this point.
Oh, always simple.
But I think all this area of emotions, yes. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I would say that when we think about education, can you hear me well? Because I think that something
Yeah.
starts to break a bit.
Yes.
Okay, when we think about education, for so long it was about like cramming knowledge and packing knowledge, yes, and covering certain
Right.
programs, covering certain curricula. How about emotions? Maybe first of all we are just creatures of emotion, not really creatures of reason. I know that it might sound again philosophical a bit, but when I think about like what's going on at schools, when I think about education,
Yeah.
I would say that it's so much about the what, and it's not enough about the how.
Okay.
What I mean is that educators are so often focused on covering the material,
Yeah.
but so often they do not realize, that the way in which they do it and the environment that they are functioning within blocks the learner
Yeah.
from accessing or receiving any information, because we are emotional and because we get so easily emotionally triggered.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, if I may, just for a moment. So this is this area that coaching enables to take like care of. So I would say that no matter what topic, what subject we are teaching within the NeuroHeart educational approach, the approach enables us to create the environment of learning
Yeah.
for our learner, which is brain friendly, which means in practice that we try to put our learners into the calm brain state.
Yeah.
And whenever any kind of emotional triggers appear, we as neuroeducators know how to coach learners around these emotional triggers so that they can come back to the state in which learning can really happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's well said that emotions are not really addressed as much as we'd like them to be. And I think if we want to address this topic, emotions and education, we would need definitely another, not even 30 minutes, probably another hour session to address all that. So
Sounds
if
like an
I,
option for the future. Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so get ready for that. We might reach out to you. Um, so neuroheart education in this case, do I understand if I understood you well, that NeuroHeart education is for other topics than language or languages.
Oh yes.
Right.
Yeah. It's again, I would say, an approach that enables us educators to facilitate the learning for our clients, for our coaches, for our learners, because of this like holistic perspective on the learner.
Yeah.
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 So we are not dividing the learner into bits and pieces, like deciding that, oh, okay, today we're going to take care of this, yes, and this part is to be taken care of by another specialist. Yeah.
Yes.
No. So this is what I mean by a holistic approach. Yes.
Right.
To put it simply.
Katie, I think we are.
Yes,
So,
Jacob.
yeah. So I'd like you to, we're kind of approaching the end of the session. Recently, you've had I would assume, a great experience, a wonderful experience attending the Neurolanguage Coaching conference. What would you like to tell
Let's
us
just
about
come
it?
back. What would I like to tell us about it?
Yeah.
Well, I think that it's an event that everybody within the neurolanguage coaching community and the NeuroHeart educational community, which is a global community, because there are like over 700 people who got certified as neurolanguage coaches within this concept. And I think it's an event that everybody is looking forward to. It's an annual event.
Right.
I would say that, it when it comes to our need for belonging, this is an event that, meets this need in the most beautiful way. Yeah, so it's about the community meeting. The home for the conference for the last 3 years is Spain. It's a beautiful town at the seaside, the Sitges.
Right.
And it's always such a pleasure to go through this together. Yes, to share experiences, to share best practices, to connect, to spend time together, and to really, really double check that we are real human beings somehow, because connecting in virtual reality, connecting online for the whole year, finally leads us to this experience of like hugging each other and pinching, checking. Oh, are you really you? Aren't you an avatar? So I cannot wait, Jacob, to check whether you are not the avatar.
Well, we met before in person, so I hope I haven't changed since then.
Pre-pandemic. It was
True.
pre-pandemic.
True. So there is the possibility that I have become an avatar after the pandemic. Well, I think one thing you would love to. They say the world is a village, like a small village. It is in a sense, but on the other hand, it takes a lot to visit all different parts of this small village. but hopefully we meet again in person one day. Katie, last word you'd like to share with the audience?
I would say it's always a pleasure to connect and to share.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping that something of what I said resonates with some of you, and maybe you can find some like pieces of you in what I said. It's such a fascinating journey, this like journey of becoming. And in fact, there's one thing that I did not mention when we were talking about like this whole development path for a neurolanguage coach, that we were starting our journey more or less at the same time. And at that time, the first level of language coaching certification existed. Yes, the next levels evolved with time. We know because of whom and who was the catalyst. What's next? Yeah. So yeah, let's see what's next. Let's see what
Yeah,
else we create, and
absolutely.
following the intuition. Yes, and making use of neuroscientific knowledge at the same time.
Yeah, which
It'd be
is
silly to ignore it.
yeah, which is I think forever evolving and rapidly neuroscience. So absolutely looking forward.
Mm.
Katie, thank you so
Thank you
very
so much.
much. To all our audience everywhere around the world, thank you very much. And until we see you next time, bye bye.
Bye bye.